Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. In today's video we're going to be talking about a huge tease for the Bad Batch, Ahsoka Tano and more. As always my dear Mandalorians, before we dive into it, please may I ask you to hit that big red subscribe button if you've not done so, and also be sure to give that bell a good old tickle to be alerted each and every time that I post new videos. So without much further ado and without any more jibber jabber, let's dive straight into it. So we're going to be talking about how Ahsoka might fit into the Bad Batch, but first of all let's talk about a huge tease for what's coming up. On Twitter, Joel Aaron, who's the VFX supervisor for the Bad Batch and the Clone Wars, has teased that the second half of the season is going to be huge and that we should strap in starting next week. I'm so excited by this and I don't really know how to muster up the patience to wait an entire week for episode 7. Friday really needs to hurry up for sure. Now a lot of people have stated that they want the show to get to the point and hurry up, but I think we forget that the structure for animated Star Wars is different to live action shows like The Mandalorian. There doesn't have to be a big cameo every episode and it's really about the journey along the way. And I just want to say huge credit to Dave Filoni, Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett and all of the team for what's been a spectacular series so far. Having said that, I do think that we're in for some major cameos and it's all to do with who the hologram figure at the end of the last episode was. Now we're going to talk about this in much more depth later on in this video, but what we do know is that the figure in the hologram is a he. I have some ideas on who I think it could be. My money's on Captain Rex, Darth Maul, a surviving Jedi, or even Greef Karga. I think some tie-ins with the Mandalorian universe would be absolutely epic, and it's the perfect show to provide a younger version of characters who appear later on in the timeline. For example, we've already had Fennec Shand, but who knows, we could even get Moff Gideon. But with all of that in mind guys, let's talk about Ahsoka and whether or not she'll show up, and what kind of teasers we've had in the last episode. I've already done a full episode breakdown, so go check that out if you've not done so. But I really wanted to dedicate an entire video to discussing how Ahsoka is being teased for an appearance and the implications going forward if she does. So we do have quite a lot to get through and we're going to begin with the R7 droid that we saw right at the end of episode 6, Decommissioned. Now in case you guys don't know, there was an animation error in that episode, so let's talk about it. In this week's 6th episode of the animated series The Bad Batch, fans were transported to Han Solo's homeworld where the Bad Batch and Omega were supposed to obtain a tactical droid for the Trandoshan Sid. During their mission, we come across the Martez sisters who we first saw in the Clone Wars Season 7, and it seems as though Raya and Trace might be taking care of Ahsoka's former droid R7A7. Or are they? The astromech droid certainly appears to be the same one that Ahsoka and Rex managed to salvage when they escaped from their ship which was carrying Maul to Coruscant during Order 66. Now the fact that the Martez sisters are even calling the droid R7 seemingly confirms that they somehow managed to obtain Ahsoka's companion droid for safekeeping. But as CBR and a number of Star Wars fans have already pointed out, this droid may not actually be Ahsoka's, and there could be a fairly major animation error in the episode Decommissioned. According to CBR, while it initially appears to have the same colour scheme as Ahsoka's dear friend, a small error appears to confirm that it's not the same droid. A later view of the astromech reveals that it's actually silver with gold and green accents and not red and gold. The two views, which are less than 5 minutes apart in the episode, show clearly different colorations and constitute an undeniable continuity error. With the error in mind, it seems unlikely that this R7 used to be Ahsoka's droid, and on top of everything, it would be a questionable course of action for Ahsoka to have repaired the droid, reached out to the Martez sisters, and emerged from hiding so soon after Order 66. It is worth noting that it's unlike Dave Filoni and his team to make a mistake like this, but stranger things have certainly happened. But is it possible that we will get an explanation in the next episode? If however there is a continuity error, it could greatly alter who the Martez sisters are speaking to at the end of the Bad Batch episode 6. If the droid is in fact Ahsoka's, it would make sense since they would have already had communication with her. As it stands however, Raya and Trace could be in communication with Crimson Dawn and Maul, Bail Organa, Rex, or any surviving Jedi of Order 66, we can't know for certain. Now as I say guys, if this is the same R7 droid that Ahsoka used, then it might be teasing an appearance soon. As I stated a long time ago, there was a rumour that Ashley Eckstein had recorded lines for this show, and as you guys know, I'm a huge Ahsoka fan, so I would definitely not say no to an appearance. So with the controversy over the R7 droid out of the way, let's talk about Ahsoka some more. I came across this article and it's really fascinating. I want to share it with you guys. Dave Filoni might rewrite Star Wars history with an Ahsoka retcon. So we begin with the premise that we don't know who the person at the end of the episode is. The mysterious hologram could be pretty much anyone, but I think it's safe to assume it might be linked to Ahsoka Tano in some way. We do know that the hologram is a he because they said patch him through, but the person could easily be tied to Ahsoka Tano, for example, Captain Rex. But you see, if this person is linked to Ahsoka and she does show up, it could retcon the Ahsoka novel. As a few of you know, some parts of the novel have already been decanonized, for example, the Siege of Mandalore. But if Ahsoka shows up and has any connection to the hologram figure, it would retcon most of the book. The novel by E.K. Johnston follows Ahsoka's journey as she learns to live without the Jedi Order, aiming to renounce the Force and eventually becoming an operative of the burgeoning Rebel Alliance. So let's take a step back. If the person in the hologram is a he, how can we know that Ahsoka is even involved? Well, as I said, it all depends on who the person is. If it turns out to be Bail Organa, while he did need her in the Rebel Alliance, it's far too soon for Ahsoka to show up. If Filoni does bring her into the Bad Batch at this stage in the timeline, it removes all of the learning moments and soul-searching adventures that she has in the novel, because at this point she should be hiding somewhere in the galaxy and not being involved. Ahsoka's journeys after Order 66 away from the Empire and the early rebellion paved the way for her role later in Star Wars canon in Rebels and The Mandalorian. The latter signalled Ahsoka's determination to track down Grand Admiral Thrawn. The Ahsoka novel explored the former Jedi Knight's problem with being part of the larger whole, so her possible connection this early on with the Bad Batch threatens that key journey for Ahsoka. Now here's the thing guys, at the end of the day when it came to the Siege of Mandalore, they had absolutely no issues retconning those aspects of the novel. The Bad Batch has proven they already don't really care about retconning things as long as the story is good, and personally as a fan I'm fine with that. So retconning the Ahsoka novel, or at least her journeys after Order 66, aren't a big deal if they complement the story in the Bad Batch. But what do you guys think? I know a lot of you have read the novel and absolutely love it. How would you feel if that's retconned or altered in a way when Ahsoka makes an appearance in the Bad Batch if she does? So now my dear friends, we're going to be talking about Grand Admiral Thrawn, who's going to be the next big bad of Star Wars, at least in terms of the Mandalorian universe. This article is called Thrawn Promises a Star Wars Future Beyond Palpatine's Shadow. For decades, Star Wars has had Emperor Palpatine as its primary villain, but the reintroduction of Grand Admiral Thrawn in The Mandalorian can finally change that. The Mandalorian Season 2 invoked Thrawn, a character who's not been seen since the end of Star Wars Rebels when he and Ezra were blasted into the unknown regions. The Mandalorian set up a major role for Thrawn in the upcoming Disney Plus shows, notably The Mandalorian Season 3 and Star Wars Ahsoka. And this could finally give the franchise a long-term villain unconnected to Palpatine. From the Phantom Menace through to the end of the First Order, Palpatine reigned, either from the shadows or on the galaxy's biggest stage, as the supreme big bad of all things Star Wars. Plenty of subordinate side villains and anti-heroes filled that span, but most of them played some role or another in Darth Sidious's evil schemes. While Palpatine has done well enough as the franchise's villain, his general principles of evil for evil's sake do not make him necessarily the most nuanced character. By bringing Thrawn into the post-original trilogy era, Star Wars can finally give itself a lead villain free from Palpatine's shadow. The Mandalorian's Moff Gideon serves the Imperial Remnant, which eventually will become the First Order. But though Thrawn was once the Grand Admiral of the Imperial Navy, he may not be as loyal in exile as Gideon. Having been flung across the universe well before the Empire's fall, Thrawn may not have been involved in Palpatine's resurrection. And even if he is still involved, Palpatine may not have Thrawn's true loyalty. The character has always been loyal to himself first and foremost, and his own advancement above all else and everyone else. It's also worth noting that Thrawn is a very different kind of villain to Palpatine. He's soft-spoken, precise and intellectual and very calculated. He will certainly make for a very impressive villain in the upcoming Mandalorian universe, and I could not be more thrilled. While Granddaddy Palps is my favourite character of all time, it is time for a change in the Star Wars universe when it comes to the big bad. And let's be honest, we're all looking forward to a live-action version of Thrawn. But let me know your thoughts of this and all of today's update in the comments down below. Did you guys enjoy it? And if you did, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new, do all that good stuff. And if you want to contribute to the channel, my Patreon link is in the description. I'm Star Wars Meg, wishing you all a phenomenal rest of the day, no matter where you dwell in the galaxy. Have a good one.